Now, what happens when a vehicle becomes a lifestyle? Well, that's what I want to figure out in this video. We're going to be unpacking everything that involves Jeep culture. That's from ducking to social media clout. We're going to figure it out, and hopefully we'll figure it out together. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let's talk about the most divisive thing in Jeep culture in probably my 25 years of owning Jeeps, and that's these little ducks. Now, there's two schools. You either love these things or you hate them. And I want to explain both sides so that we at least have some idea of why people aren't the biggest fan and why people love them. First off, people that hate them it's not about the people leaving ducks. It's not even about the ducks, I think. It's just the ducks are a representation, an outward representation of the softening of the Jeep brand. The Jeep brand has always been about freedom, adventure, durability, off-road capability. And, you know, ducks, you're not gonna take a duck off-road. I know some of you guys are. I don't know if you're gluing them to your dash, but if I try to put one of those ducks on my dash, it's not staying there. I guarantee it. Solid axle, beefy components, that duck is not staying there. When you get a duck, you realize that person probably was a lifestyle Jeeper, which is nothing wrong with it. But the more lifestyle Jeepers we get and the less off-road Jeepers we get means that our Jeeps are going to get softer and softer. And it's hard to keep these older Jeeps running when you're really taking them to some amazing places. If you hate ducks, I encourage you guys to be a little bit easier when you get one. Just take it, put it in your Jeep, get rid of it later. You don't know if a kid left that on your Jeep. You don't know if the person's still watching. And all they were trying to do was just spread some happiness, joy, because they thought that would make you happy. And I completely get it. Now, for those of you that are duckers and want to leave ducks on Jeeps, there's an indicator. If someone has a duck on their dash, it's probably okay to leave a duck on that Jeep. But if there's no ducks on the dash, it's probably not, that Jeeper's probably not a fan of ducking. And if you want ducks left on your Jeep, put a duck on that dash, and I bet you someone will eventually leave you a duck, because I have no ducks on my dash and I still get them. And my Jeep is as plain as it comes. Now, I know the people watching this video do not need this part of the guide, but we're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna talk about social media. And yeah, guys, I've seen posts about people that were so upset that they didn't get a wave and they go post in one of the Jeep groups, or how much they hate ducks. And in reality, guys, it doesn't matter. We don't need that kind of stuff in there. Save it for your personal feed if you really want to. And I'll admit, I need to actually be following this myself. Right now on my Instagram, I am trolling Stellantis and Jeep. I probably shouldn't do that. But in reality, social media should be fun, but not fun to where you're getting upset about ducks or the wave. And on that social media topic, let's get into Jeep photos. There's going to be tons of opportunities in various groups to share photos of your Jeep. And I absolutely love it. I love taking photos of these Jeeps. It's fun. But I'm gonna tell you guys, you're gonna get further if you have photos of your Jeep off-road. So I get it. Not everybody is an off-roader, but at least get out there on a dirt road, get out there, explore a little bit, do some light off-roading, take some photos while you're doing that, because people want to see your Jeep, but people want to see the locations that you're in with it. And photos off-road make Jeeps pop so much more, and I think people really resonate with that. So just a word of advice, when sharing pictures of your Jeep, try to avoid sharing pavement pictures and try to share pictures of them out in the wild. All right, we're gonna talk about this right here, the Jeep Wave. Now, when I was a new Jeep owner, I was taught the Jeep Wave, and I was taught it was an acknowledgement of a love of a vehicle despite its real limitations. Jeeps have always had limitations in other aspects of driving, but we loved them, and that's why we waved to other Jeep owners, because we knew they were dealing with the same thing that we were dealing with. And I know a lot of people have been saying, you know, it's about GIs coming back, and that's probably true. That's probably there, and it probably just evolved by the time that I had one. Now, as a Jeep owner, you've probably heard just empty every pocket. And that comes from Jeep ownership experience just being relatively expensive. Now, I will say in my case, that really hasn't been the case. I've wheeled within my means, and I've usually wheeled a stock Jeep, and that has been relatively inexpensive. But that's not for everyone. Some people want to have a modified ride and just completely customize the Jeep, and that's quite all right. I'm just saying, don't go broke to do that. You can get a stock Jeep, it doesn't even have to be a Rubicon, quite far. Save your money, don't go into credit card debt to modify that. Just wait until you can do it. But in the meantime, gain your skills as a driver by wheeling it stock. And then just empty every pocket won't mean much for you. Some people will name their Jeeps, take off the Rubicon, and put their name on there, or if it's not a Rubicon, they'll just put the name on the hood. It's an established practice, people are doing it. Now, I'm a little bit different. This Jeep's name is 6, my TJ's name is 2A. I think they're creative. I don't think they're creative, but it's just their names. Now, some people will say that someone else has to name your Jeep, it needs to come organically from experience and all that kind of stuff. Sounds good, I like that, but I don't think there's a problem with you naming your Jeep yourself, if you want to name it, you know, and putting its name on the hood. It's your Jeep. You're the one driving it. Go ahead and name it. And so that's just something that Jeep owners do, something you should know to do. If you don't want to name it, that's quite all right. 6 is a name though. So now I have a feeling this video is getting long, but maybe it's time to break it up a little bit. We're gonna do a community ride, and this time we're doing my buddy Justin, who sent in a photo, but I'm not showing any photos. We're gonna show some actual wheeling that me and him did recently. Now Justin has a stock CJ7 with a rear locker, so that's a little bit different, but he runs a YouTube channel called Chef Wheels, and there's not much on it, but he is no slouch to YouTube. He is the editor for Rory Irish Trailmator. So he is gonna have some amazing stuff up there. He already has the first build part of his off-road camper. And I guarantee you'll be seeing that on this channel, because me and him filmed a little camper series recently.
That was awesome.
Nice.
Dude, yours will do it.
This is not a good situation, but I've been in worse. Biggest issue is how loose this is. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Jeeps parked on snow piles, all kinds of stuff. I think we actually really do need to talk about parking. Now, it is awesome when you park next to another Jeep. Now, maybe not every Jeeper feels that way, but I absolutely love it. I love when another Jeep parks next to me. It's cool to see what someone has done with their Jeep. And that's been an established practice since I have been driving Jeeps. So for at least 25 years, Jeeps have parked next to each other. Now, let's get into some other scenarios. It is okay to park on snow or park on dirt as long as it is not causing a disruption to anyone else around there. The other rule about that is you got to make sure that you are able to get off of that. It is not acceptable to have to get pulled off of a parking lot park job. Sorry guys, we cannot be doing that. We cannot be getting towed off of snow piles because you buried yourself into a snow pile you can't get yourself off of. Now, another thing I like to do, I like the way my Jeeps look, so I usually do try to park my Jeep in a place where I can look at it while I eat. Now, if you are out there with a group, you need to just completely ignore these rules and act like a normal human being. These are more for when you are by yourself or with other Jeepers. But yes, there are Jeep parking rules. Those are the ones I have for you. Now, you guys have probably heard the saying, it's a Jeep thing you just wouldn't understand. And maybe you don't fully understand that quite yet, and I get that. The saying, I believe, comes from a combination of This vehicle is not a very practical vehicle, but what it does it so amazingly. Like, I can point this basically in any direction I want to go and it will do it. So this vehicle lets me see some incredible things. But even if you're not an off-roader, there's something about these vehicles that are just so much fun to drive, even in daily activities. And that's why I think that saying came out, because if you look at it from the outside, you're probably not going to get it, but it's not until you actually drive one, especially driving one off-road in a location like this, that you'll understand it. We got to talk about influencing in Jeep culture, because it's been a part of Jeep culture since I've been a little Jeeper. And it first started out in the Jeep forums. There was influencers in there. Now it's, you know, social media, Instagram, YouTube, all that kind of good stuff. Now, my background is I'm a retired pediatrician, and I'll get into that maybe later, but this is why I don't like influencing. We had a problem in medicine with pharmaceutical companies influencing us, and it was affecting our prescribing habits. So we weren't always prescribing the best stuff. I think they got it under control now, though, but that was just a problem in the past. However, I think that has now moved on to the off-road overland space. And I get it. You cannot do a YouTube channel without having paid sponsors. We do, because I have a good job, but it sucks because I can't pay Drew what he's worth, who Drew helps edit, and that absolutely sucks. And I should be taking sponsors to help pay him, so I get why companies do it. But the problem is the biasness that's created when you do that. We'll use Trail Software as an example so you guys have an idea of how this works. Trails Off-Road is the one I always recommend. I tell people to do the trial first. If you like the trial, then use our discount code to get it cheaper. We do get a kickback from that. But Trails Off-Road has never paid me to tell you about their stuff. And I talk about Trails Off-Road all the time. If they offer to pay me, I would take it, because as of right now, they're still the best. Now, another trail software, map software came to me and said, "Hey, Dewey, we're going to pay you a lot of money if you'll tell your viewers about our stuff." And it was a lot of money. And this was just to talk about it. That's on top of a discount code that I could have given out, which would have been even more money. And the reason I couldn't do that deal is there's so many errors in that software. They had a Webster Pass and Radical Hill, both that we have trail guides on. They had them mismatched for a year, with numerous of us Colorado wheelers telling them, "Hey, fix this," and they wouldn't fix it. And I'm someone that still considers off-roading, overlanding a dangerous and deadly activity. So when you do stuff like that, there's no way I'm going to recommend you. And so that's what goes on behind the scenes. And hopefully it makes a little bit sense. I am not trying to call out other creators, because I understand why they have to do it. I absolutely do. But I want you guys that watch us to know, do your own research. Befriend local wheelers. And if you don't know how to befriend local wheelers, well, the next topic will help you. Now, as a Jeep owner, you're going to get the opportunity to join a local Jeep club. And that's something I definitely recommend. When I was a member of Mid-South Jeeps, I learned so much from wheeling with those guys. We used to go to off-road parks, and I learned a lot of what I'm talking about in this video from those guys, because I learned what happens when you put 40s on a stock JK 44 axle. They usually break. I learned how far you can push a vehicle without it breaking, as well as how far you need to push it to break it. That was very valuable stuff when wheeling with those guys. They went pretty hard, and I think it's definitely a good thing to join a local Jeep club. You'll have more experienced people, and you'll get to kind of get some pointers and some understanding that you may have not gotten if you just wheel alone all the time. So while editing this video, I've had an epiphany, and it's not even about this Wagoneer. Now, when I used the Wagoneer in the ducking section, it really just hit me. Jeep has abandoned, or not Jeep, Stellantis has abandoned its core philosophies And I want to use this video to document them. I think all Jeep owners should know what Jeep's core philosophies have been through the years. Well, the first core philosophy, many of you guys are going to remember this saying, go anywhere, do anything. And I don't think the new Stellantis projects are upholding that. This Jeep right here, as a test mule, was stuck in a ditch. Now, I was hoping they fixed it, but there is no trail rated badge on this thing. There's no Trailhawk version of this. I think it's an abandoned philosophy. Now, the second core philosophy of Jeep has been off-road capability, trail rated performance. They used to start putting these little trail rated badges on here. All of these new Grand Cherokees do not have a trail rated badge on them. That seems unheard of. I used to work at a Jeep dealership, and I would think that even the more basic Laredo models still were trail rated, and these don't seem like they are. And when you have people like Jason, Fearless Trailhawk, that has shown how capable previous Grand Cherokee models are, then you're left wondering what is going on at Stellantis. Now, the next Jeep value is freedom and individualism. And Jeep has always been one of the most customizable vehicles that you could have. And that's why in this video, you can completely choose to ignore everything I say about certain topics, because when it comes down to it, it is your Jeep. So if you want to end up putting a bad mod like what the next part of this series is, that's quite okay because it's your Jeep. Now, the fourth core value has been community and heritage, and I think Stellantis is still trying to uphold that, but there's been so many missteps lately. The new grille of the JL, I think, is a misstep. Calling the Gladiator a Gladiator instead of Scrambler was a misstep, and I think the styling of the Wagoneer does not honor the heritage of the big Wagoneer SUVs of the past that were truly off-road capable. And the final core component of Jeep was utility without compromise. But where is the utility of these Wagoneer EVs? Jeep has now been trying to substitute utility with luxury, but the thing is, luxury doesn't sell Jeeps. Luxury is not what us Jeep owners want. We want utility. That's why we buy Jeeps. That's the only reason we buy Jeeps. Instead of giving us luxury, how about Dana 60s, 37-inch tires, Trailhawk versions of your big SUVs? This should be a modified Commander. It should be a better version of the Commander. And that's where you're failing. Well, guys, that was my take on this whole Jeep life thing. I'd love to hear what your take is. The next episode is going to be going into bad mods, and I'm going to explain why they're bad mods. This Jeep right here has some hidden bad mods. I will show you those. But if you want to see what we really do on this channel, hit up there. That is a trail guide. And YouTube thinks you'll like that other video, but I plan on showing you guys some of the absolute best overland routes in this country that you can do with your Jeep. So I'd love to have you as part of our community. You just have to hit that subscribe button, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.